Hi, everybody. I'm Olivia F. Scott, the creator of Freedom at the Mat, a safe and sacred place for women to find their peace, find their freedom, and improve their health and wellness. We're so proud to offer expert and real women conversations with helpful information to improve your life, movement sessions, and a community of like-minded women like yourselves. So if this content speaks to you, please subscribe, like, and share these videos. So today, I have a really special conversation with a real woman, Marydee Moran. Now, every woman's a real woman, but what I mean is she's gonna share her real story. We're gonna talk straight talk, the journey through addiction to sobriety. So listen in. You're so Hi, everybody. It's Olivia with Freedom at the Mat. Thank you so much for joining us today. So we have a very special feature conversation. So I was at a Dream House Lounge soul work session. Shout out to David, whom we love so much for gathering us every Sunday. And I was in a sister circle with Marydee Moran, who's here with us today. So in our soul work sessions, David always has a theme about something. And that particular day, we were talking about areas of our life that we wanted to improve. One woman was speaking about, her issues with overspending. Another was speaking about gambling. And I was speaking about, just my need for approval. And this woman boldly, like she was quiet over there, and then she mentioned that she was working on sobriety. And in that moment, I was like, did she really share that? Because most people do not share when they were on the journey from addiction to sobriety. It's one of those taboo topics that you live in shame, you live in isolation. And for me, it's a topic that I've always been really interested in because my sister suffered for 40 years with an addiction to crack cocaine and different things like that, Percocet at a certain point. And then I've also had several other family members who've been addicted to other substances. So I have an empathy and an understanding of their humanity because they've been my relatives. But I've always been really, really curious about why they just stop. It's destroying your life. Why can't you stop? So today we're in a conversation, a straight talk conversation with Marydee, who's boldly decided to share more of her life story and her journey from addiction to sobriety. So Marydee, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
you for the space just to really, you're right. People who are working on sobriety usually live at the margins and this is a conversation that we like to center. And even, beyond the people who are dealing with the addiction, it makes everybody uncomfortable. So nobody wants to talk about this. So thanks for making space.
No, of course, we're going to get into it. I'm going to start my question, but I do want to know more about you because I recently met you and I was really excited about it. Like, you're my new friend here in New Orleans. But can you share more about you, where you're from, your family, your siblings, just more about you as a woman?
Yeah, sure. So I'm from LA originally, and I have been in New Orleans for the last 10 years. I have been so blessed to start and lead an organization here. It's called Our Voice Nuestra Voz. We do solidarity work between Black and Brown people. But yeah, I think beyond that, I have really, especially over the last couple of years, have been working on my healing, doing the work around sobriety, but also really getting in touch with, my dad's side of the family, and
you're of mixed heritage, right?
Yep. And okay. So, and like last week I was just in Guatemala and really digging into, who are we? Like, what is the lineage? And the lineage has all of the gifts, and it also has the things that we need to work on, part of which, is the addiction. And so I do come from a family that has all of these wonderful gifts, but also some things that we're working on. And in addition to that, I am going to be, yeah, I'm like starting a family with my partner.
What does that mean? Are we adopting? What are we doing? What does that mean? We're
We
starting
are
a family.
definitely holding and growing kidneys and eyelashes.
What?
And
Not the lashes. Oh my
and
god!
all sorts of things
Having a
right
baby?
now. Yep, at 42.
Wow.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a whole story where I was like, oh, yeah, we can talk later about, you know, fertility and he's like, no, let's talk about it now. And, you know, God was like, and the ancestors were like, yeah, let's talk about it now.
Right
In
now.
fact, here it is, you know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You
Yeah.
weren't even trying. So tell me this. I know we're going to talk about a lot of things in hopscotch, so bear with us, right? But I want you to talk about what caused your initial super use of alcohol.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I'm reading this book right now by Tommy Orange. Tommy is this beautiful native writer. He's Cheyenne, and the book is called Wandering Star. And he's talking about addiction. And so one of the phrases that he uses is that addict blood is like in me. You know, I come from a family of addicts.
It's genetic.
Yeah,
It is
there's
genetic.
something in there, you know, and so my father was an alcoholic. My brother is still addicted to alcohol, all of the things, you know. I think probably meth, heroin, anything and everything. And, you know, when I really think about, you know, people are like, oh, you're not an addict. And when I think about like my relationship to alcohol, my relationship to food, my relationship to sugar, I know that it is one where I seek comfort, I seek escape. And, you know, there were, my mom passed away 2 years ago, and it was a really, really dark time for me. And I knew that I was in a where I'm like, okay, no, ma'am, you are addicted to alcohol, because I was drinking daily. I was drinking, you know, morning to night and consecutively. I was in this really bad relationship, and I started getting physical, sort of everything from like really bad anxiety to depression to a neck tick, where depending on where I was on my alcohol journey for the day, I was getting all these responses, and I was just like, oh God, like,
Ooh.
this cannot happen anymore. Like at this point, I'm like, you know, not the
I'm
cute, yeah, not the cute, like I'm having cocktails at lunch, but I'm like the person who is doing things that are like super harmful to themselves.
At
Because
home, not just out. You were
yeah,
doing it
because
at home.
I'm escaping or I'm trying to cope. And so I with that, I mean, I think it was like, I understand. It wasn't like I had to lose my job or I had anything else. It was like, oh no, I'm like going in deep with alcohol and food and sugar because I am coping. And
From the loss of your mother.
yes, and from being in this terrible relationship.
That's right.
And if I don't move quickly, I'm going to be like my brother. I'm going to be like my dad. And so I sort of didn't need although there were a few sort of rock bottoms, but my rock bottom didn't look like losing a house or losing a family. It looked like not recognizing myself. It looked like losing control over my body. And so that was enough for me.
Okay.
And so for a while, over the last year or so, I've been on this journey where mentally, at first, I needed to say, okay, am I addicted? And then, you know, you sort of, while I was not in a 12-step program, the first thing is awareness and sort of admitting I am an alcoholic, like, or I'm in this relationship with alcohol and sugar and, you know, that is not, it's like harmful, it's destructive towards myself. And so I've been sort of working with my therapist, working with my let's say my OB. Definitely not working with my OB on that, but I've been working with my primary care on like, how do I address the alcoholism?
Okay.
And really knowing that it's just learned behavior. I've watched everyone around me, you know, everyone in my family just...
That's what they
yeah.
reach for a drink.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you. What do you think led you to choose alcohol as your choice of addiction? You mentioned sugar, you mentioned alcohol, but was there a reason why you think that you chose alcohol over? Because I think we're all addictive. And when we were in our session, you said that. You said we're all addicted to something.
Everybody is addicted. I believe.
I believe so too.
Yeah, it could be, you know, you need attention. It could be shopping. It could be pornography. It could be, you know, gambling. There's so many vices, and people like to talk about them in other ways, like, oh, a vice, or
right.
This is the thing. But when you really recognize that that is the thing that you use to escape and to cope. Now, everyone might not be sort of at the place, again, where you're losing it all.
Right.
But you're certainly probably at the place where it's harmful to you. And so, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because you answered what I was asking about why you chose alcohol. It was modeled for you, and it was modeled for you, period. And then it was genetic. So that's kind of where it took its own hold, because it was already a part of your bloodline.
And a part of what I love about this book that I'm reading with Tommy Orange is that that it was a part of the way of how Native people were colonized, right? And when we think about, you know, it doesn't matter what type of alcohol you're having, but if we think about something that is very native to, like, you know, the alcohols that I saw people growing up use, and what is native to even South Louisiana, sugarcane, rum, you know, and really thinking about we're in this relationship where something that used to be so sacred to our people is now, the overconsumption of it has caused diabetes, alcoholism, right? And so really understanding the historic kind of how we've learned to misuse it and overuse it, and be in sort of an abusive relationship with the substance that's actually supposed to be sacred, that should be something that isn't something that's used every day, that's something for our altar, something to pour for our ancestors.
Correct.
So yeah, I think the sobriety journey has been all of that for me, both understanding from like a heady place, but then also from a okay, why do I go to, in addition to like being in New Orleans, and alcohol
everywhere
is everywhere. That's what you do. Right. Like you're taking a business meeting, and of course there's alcohol.
Always.
You know?
Always.
And so why I chose it, I think it's, you know, from my lineage, it was something that was used, misused, and a part of the colonization process, but also in my direct family culture, it's just what you do. You know,
right.
You, how you unwind is you
get
pop beers. Yeah, you
right.
get a drink.
Yeah.
You know, you find a way, you know, margaritas are just like, you find a way.
I have to ask you though, you mentioned a part of the colonization process. Can you explain more about that? Because I'm just not enlightened around that.
Yeah. So, you know, I think the way that Native people were colonized throughout, not just here in America, but throughout the Americas, is there was a relationship that we had to nature, to the land, to, you know, Native culture is all about balance and harmony. And, you know, when you're out of balance and harmony, and that's why I love that part of this connection here to the conversation we're having is around the mat, and right. how the mat provides us getting back to a place of harmony,
right,
and alignment, and And so the way that you that colonizers went to sort of take our indigenous ways, was to get us out of alignment. And that wasn't just with the land, but that's like how we use things, the substances. And so, I can go
No, I didn't.
further into it, but I think that was one of the main uses. And then, at some point, you don't have to introduce us to it, or give me the bottle, I'm taking it.
Right.
Right.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I'll have to delve more deeply, but that does make sense and resonate as you were speaking to it. I hadn't really thought about that. So, for people who are on the outside looking at addiction, right? As you said, you're like, I'm not an addict, and people using the word, there's such a negative connotation around the word addict. They're people, humans who are super using, overusing, over-consuming alcohol. What do you want them to know about alcohol addiction? Like, why is it, how can it get a hold on you?
Yeah.
And why is it not so easy to stop? And I ask that honestly from a perspective of watching family members who you're just like, can you just get it together? Like, why do you keep going back to the bottle? You know what it's doing to your body. You know what it's doing to your life, your children, your family. Why is it not so easy to stop? What do you want us to know about it?
Yeah, and again, there are better ways. So I say addict family structure, and I use that word, and I think we've probably evolved past that, and I have heard other folks say other things in terms of how we address that. I think for me and where I'm at in my journey, that's just what I'm using. And when I again see my relationship with myself, see my brother's relationship with himself and to his family, to our family, and my father, you are doing things that are out of control as a result of the substance abuse, or as a result of your relationship with that thing. And for what I have seen, that's again, your body is changing, violence, whether that's verbal or physical. There is a lack of care, a lack of just the level of what you understand responsibility is no longer there. And you see it at first, you start to see it, and it's close by, and at some point it's so far away. Again, when I'm thinking about, okay, wait, I was drunk, and then I remember being on the floor on St. Charles, and then I remember eating 2 burgers and fries and some ice cream, and waking up crying and with like neck tics. And that sounds not extreme to folks who are who are losing their whole life, but that's my whole life,
right?
I'm supposed to be doing work to support other people in their healing, and and I think losing my mother, it was just like, ooh, I can't handle what is happening, and that just felt very extreme to me. And so from there, I was just like, oh no, I gotta go talk to all the people, all the things, because I no longer have function over my body.
Well, I want to talk next about where you went to when you had the initial awareness and said, I gotta stop this.
Yeah.
But I also want to pause to thank you for sharing your story so honestly.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting you shared the trauma of your mother, the loss of your mother, because what little I understand about behavior is that typically there is a trauma that sets this thing off.
100%.
Right. And I remember, and I've shared this story many times, of asking my sister, like, what happened to you? Like, why are you acting like this? We have the same parents, same, right? What's going on? And she explained to me things I did not know that happened to her. And I was like, oh, same parents, same household, but different experiences. And then you're like, okay, there is always a trauma.
Yeah.
You know, and I talked to Dr. Candy Saraparu, who works as LCSW, and she said there's usually a trauma, that happens. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And I think we have to be very aware. And I remember when my mother passed and then I got my divorce, my therapist at the time, he says, be very careful about you picking up any substance at this time.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I don't remember myself being having that relationship with alcohol before, and I certainly don't have it now, right? And not just because I'm pregnant, but actually months before I was pregnant, I was like, oh no, I gotta, like, this is. And so I would go on these fasts, right, where it was like 30 days no alcohol. I could not conceptualize going one day without, of course I need champagne, right? Of course, a margarita, a Paloma. Yeah, of course, I'm having a Paloma. I'm definitely having an Aperol Spritz when I get to dinner. And all of that sounds cute,
right.
It's these days where you're just losing it all. And losing it all, again, is not your home, but you've lost a whole day because you can't control the drinking. And so it's something that, again, people might not think they're there, but when you can find, and I'm so grateful with my relationship to self, because I found those moments where I was like, okay, I'm clear. Let me have some courage. Good. This is not right. This is not where I'm supposed to be. Good. And so, yes, losing your mother, your soft place, your center, the sweetness in my life, that was something that it did on some level for me. It merited going crazy, like unraveling, allowing myself to just be on the floor, laid out. I'm done. If I'm not gonna lose it for a man. But if I'm gonna lose it for anybody, I'm gonna lose it for my mama.
Right.
And so I'm so grateful again for those moments of clarity, for that courage of being able to say, yep, this is out of alignment. I am not one with myself. I'm out of control and I need support.
So, speaking of, you made the decision and you said, I got to get out of this. What are some of the things that you did to find your way from that state of being to where you are now?
I talked to my team at work about it. I was just like, this is something that I'm working on. I talked to, of course, my therapist, my doctor. At the time, I was also on an antidepressant, which you really shouldn't be doing that type of drinking on an antidepressant. And so I was on an antidepressant. I talked to my dad about it. My dad has been a recovering alcoholic since 1995, and so I also have the modeling of someone who said, okay, I'm done with alcohol. He sat the family down and he was just like, this is what I've been doing and this is the impact it's had, and I apologize. And so while I can fault my dad for a lot of things, really being a responsible father and a man and, a husband, and saying like, I apologize, and having also the example of he's, hasn't had a drink in since 1995.
Wow.
Is something that's really beautiful and that I admire and look up to.
And so in terms of yoga, I think that was one of the modalities as well. You mentioned to me that you also, did that help you at all? How did that help you?
It did. For a long time, I I, had done yoga, had especially, being in LA, it was like,
Everywhere.
yeah, it's everywhere. And it's like, Bikram got to us like, like 30 and 50 years before it got everywhere
Of
else.
course, of course.
And being a big bodied person in yoga, it's always beautiful when you see an instructor and they're black or they don't have the typical body.
Yep.
Because you're like, oh, I'm safe, or they're gonna understand how to tell you, let's modify like this, or like bring this back, so, and without the kind of maybe judgment,
Yes.
or without, and so I knew that a part of moving the anxiety, and getting back into this harmony was me moving my body. And so I would walk a lot. I knew that yoga would sort of help me, when you're in that pose and you're like, I don't know how to do this pose. I don't even know if this is the right way to do it. But you're both moving the energy, but also the trying to stay still in the discomfort. And so I would remind myself when I was in these places where I was like, I want to drink. Or you can go have a drink, have 2. Do you need 5? No, you don't need 5.
Right, right. You can have a drink.
And so there was a lot of correlation that I did with the mat. But also, what I found was that a lot of the trauma and what I learned from folks was like in my hips. And so I just did a lot of work around like just being on the mat and learning how to open my hips, how to, sort of be in these poses that would help me, move the energy, the hurt, the trauma, the pain in such a way that I could release. And so I'm definitely so grateful for the mat. Even last night I was having some anxiety and I got straight into my pose, and was I was on the bed and just on my knees, opening my hips. And I was like, oh yeah, this is it. Let me move, let me do the things that I know to do, because they work. And it's medicine that's accessible.
Correct.
And so that felt very accessible over the last few years, and even beyond that. I'm grateful just for everyone who has been supportive, people who don't even know about the sobriety journey, but who helped me understand like modifications.
Nice. Well, and when you speak to, I'm grateful to hear that yoga has been helpful to you on your journey, because of course as a yogi, I found yoga in a difficult relationship, and it just helped me move issues through my body. But when you mentioned the part about seeing Black teachers and people who don't have the typical body, it's interesting because when I first started, I was a little nervous. I was in New York, and I was like, I'm not a size 2 or 4 or 6 for that matter, or 8. And I was just like, ooh, I was nervous. I was trying to stay as lean as I could for my body, and which was always like a 10, 12. That's always kind of where it was going to be. And that was it. And I was struggling. And what I saw was me showing up as myself in my classes in Harlem, New York. It just brought more women who looked like me, and they felt safe and they felt comfortable because they were like, oh, like if she can do it, I can do it. And it encouraged them. So I think, for any teachers out there, any practitioners as well who feel like it's not for you, there are so many other benefits, and all this notion that you have to be a certain size, to have a certain skin complexion to do it, it's just not true.
Yeah. My mother, who had a similar body, built to, or I'm built like her, she definitely taught me like, you're fine in your body. You are safe in your body. You are beautiful in your body. And so the idea of staying in your body, and the sobriety journey, how I think about it now is like, if I can be free in my body, I can try and I'll do better at being free in the world. But if I can't even be free here, and so I think that's been like the thing is like, how can I truly practice having that sovereignty over my body,
Right.
and being like, okay, I don't need this. This is helpful to me, and learning to heal that I need things from the outside to fill the gaps or the voids or the
It's all
holes.
here. It's all inside.
Yeah.
And I want to close with that. I'd love for you to share with me two things. Share with us two things. One, what words of support, encouragement, and love would you offer to someone suffering from addiction of any kind, of using substances that are harmful to their health? And then after that, if you would share with our community advice for those of us who are family members who are watching people and we're struggling, saying, I want to help, I want to get in there, why can't you just stop? So both of those, whatever you'd like to offer.
Yeah. What was the first one?
I know I shouldn't have done them double up. The first one was for people who are suffering from any substance abuse disorder.
Yeah. Now again, I can only speak to my journey, but I was having those blackout moments. I was having. I was like, damn, if I keep doing this shit, I'm gonna be in jail. I'm gonna be in somebody's prison, and nothing or nobody who's around me is going to be able to save me. And I saw myself, I was dreaming and I saw myself in that cell. And
was it a cry for help though? Was the alcoholism, was it a cry for help in some way?
Shit, probably, but I don't know. Now I feel, like, again, it was just yesterday, but I feel removed from it. I think it's like, tell people. And I would say tell people who you're close to that you need help.
Okay.
Because nobody would have ever said, like, oh, girl, you had a bad night. Yeah, of course. We do that all the time. Or, and I'm like, no, like, absolutely not. I don't want this to be normalized. This is not good.
Right.
And so if you know that something is happening, especially if you're in tune spiritually, and it's like, man, this is not who I am. Like,
right.
I'm supposed to be wearing my crown right now. Like,
right.
There is no way that I should be dealing with this nonsense,
Right. Nonsense.
And, yes. And so I think it's like, be honest with yourself and make the people around you help you stay accountable to that truth. Even if they are somehow trying to enable
or judge,
yeah. And I think the second thing that I would say is healing and sobriety is not linear. Allow yourself to be like, all right, well, I'm gonna mess up, all right, and for some people that messing up looks like a DUI. For some people that messing up looks like some really bad shit that's gonna land you in jail.
Right.
Or for other folks, it might be, you just wake up with a hangover or whatever it is. But just know that, like, it is not linear. Again, I'm pregnant right now and I have not, had any alcohol. But I think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely want to drink. And I know for people, of course, there's all these cute videos on YouTube where it's like that first margarita or that first pina colada after your
after you have a baby.
After you have a baby, like, of course you want that, right? Like, and it's cute, but it's like, it's, I know for me, it's like, okay, let's. Yeah, I'm not going to fantasize about alcohol or want to figure out ways to stop that.
Correct. Because postpartum depression, that might take.
Absolutely. And I'm not, it's not, again, I'm not free from it. So I'm practicing being free. And
you're free. We're manifesting.
Yeah, yes. But it's a practice. Every day I'm making choices to stay free. And so I think, tell people, be honest about it, but also know that the journey is not linear, and give yourself grace, but also get all of the help that you need, both, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. You need all of the support, all of it. So do all the ceremonies, do all the things that need to be done, go all to all the classes, everything. Watch the YouTubes, whatever you need, and also give yourself grace and allow yourself to have new memories, to have new thoughts.
And so, closing, on the outside, right? What do you tell someone who you're watching your friend is saying, I want the support, but your friend keeps falling off the wagon and coming back. Yeah. And you're like, why don't you she needs to stop. Mary needs to. What would you say to those of us who want to support and we're just like at the end of our rope, or what would you tell us?
I don't know, because I'm at the end of my rope with my brother. And so that's why I appreciate the space, because this is deeply personal to me. Okay. He's in prison for elderly abuse, and so this is
because of the addiction, the elderly abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So he was abusing my parents and really abusing anybody who's near him. I don't know what to tell myself. It's like, you gotta, I don't believe in, I want to be an abolitionist, but your ass needs to stay your ass right there, I don't know. So, again, when I talk about myself as an addict, it's different than
what you would tell your friend or someone working.
Yeah, or someone who is at a level of like when you are abusing your parents, or you are financially abusing your family, or so I don't know what to tell people other than having boundaries is important, and everybody has a role. One thing that I've loved about learning about addictive family structures is like, or family structures where there are addicts involved, is like you're either the enabler, or like you're the have all these personalities, like where you're trying to save someone, so then you become an adult, and of course I want to save you, I can make things better, because that's your role within your family structure. But I think it's like understanding all you can do is control yourself.
Correct.
All you can do is find the peace, make the offerings you can make, and after that you have got to remove yourself, you have got to get away, because you were playing a role, you were playing a part. And so I don't know what to tell those folks.
That's okay.
Other than save yourself and be you be safe.
Yes, and I remember asking Dr. Arnold James and Candice Saraparu at Essence Wellness House and Health Hub last year, if not year before last, I asked them this question because they're professionals in this space, right? And they said set boundaries. Understand that it is an addiction, it's a substance that's driving the behavior, that it's not necessarily the person. So if you can still have love for them in your heart, right, for being your brother, for being your sister, for being your mother, your father, but understand and just have a boundary, right? Because it's not them that's beating up your elder. It's not them that's stealing from your. It's not them. It's a substance, and it's the lack of control.
And they're sick and have compassion, and then at some point, right, because it's a disease, and at some point you're like, I don't want to have compassion, and so I'm currently at the I don't want to have compassion That's real. Place, while also knowing again from this kind of heady intellectual place that no, it wasn't my brother, it was the substance. And
you're like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, I
anyway, I don't know. I think everyone's on their own journey, and I'm on my own journey. I don't have enough information other than.
I appreciate that, because I think there are people who, when we had this conversation, in essence, people were like, I'm at the end of my brother, my cousin, am I right? And I think we're all there, and I know that I've been there.
Yeah.
So many. So I was like, girl, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you realize on the back end that there was a mental illness.
Yeah.
Because, the drugs really do rewire the brain.
They do.
And you understand that there was this lack of control, and that they really are not the brother or sister or parent that we grew up with. Yeah. They're just not that person. So somehow we have to separate who we think they are from who they have become. Yeah. Try to give them some love, but also, as you said, protect yourself and set some boundaries. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Oh my God, thank you. This was great.
I'm so happy that you shared your story, and I hope that anybody listening, whether you are on the road to sobriety or whether you are a family member, that something we've said today has supported you. I mean, that you're not alone on either side, and that you give yourself some grace, you give your loved ones some grace and some love, and that you honor your particular journey. And just understand, as Mary shared, there's typically a trauma that has happened in order for you to begin reaching for substances that are not good for you. If that is your case, we invite you to try things like yoga. I'm always going to be an advocate for yoga, therapy, walks, things that you can use to substitute doing things that are harmful. Last thing I'll say is what you said as well. Like, we all are addicted to something. Yes. Every person. Maybe you can substitute that addiction. And there's something else I want to say quickly. Like, I was talking to a woman about routine, the self-soothing impact of routines. And honestly, going for a bottle, that is a routine. It's not one that's helpful for your health, but it's a routine. So how can you replace those things with other routines? Yeah. I won't speak about certain family members, but certain members I've watched for a long time, they have decided to substitute drinking for going for a walk, or going to trying, or one that went from cigarette smoking to other things. It's like, how can you, because those are routines that we just kind of get used to keep us sane. Yeah. People having a cup of coffee in the morning. Yeah. That's a routine. So may God be with you guys. Thank you so much for your love and your time and your attention here at the mat. Continue to stay well, set some boundaries, and make sure you honor practices that keep you well and safe. See you soon. Ashe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
You're so